Hey there, everybody. I'm joined once again by Matthew with more essential deck combos in the retro format. So we are up to kind of Reflections 2, but these are good combos for any decks if you're playing retro decks. So we thought also this is really a great way to learn sort of how cards can interact and sort of building little combos. We have 5 more here. We did 5 before. I'll post that video in the video description if you want to look at those. But I'm going to hand it over to Matthew and kind of get into these 5 combos.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. So the Star Wars cards are really interesting in that they do very unusual things. So it's always fun to figure out how to string them together to do unusual combos. So I want to start us off with kind of a pretty obvious one, which is like on the edge and then maybe also off the edge. This one is supposed to be like a high risk, high reward card where, you might retrieve some force, you might lose your guy, but instead of taking a risk, why don't you consider using a recyclable Destiny 6 card and tracking that to the top, then you can safely retrieve without having to have any risk. So I think a lot of people know about the on the edge, off the edge, but on the edge in particular has another secret mode, which is you can choose a number that you're not going to draw, like 6. You need to beat the number. So usually you're choosing 5 with it. But if you choose 6 and don't have a 7 on top, you're going to lose your guy. So why would that be good? If you have a lone character at a site and your opponent initiates battle and starts to beat down, you can actually use this during battle to just make your guy go lost. So as opposed to having a bunch of overflow, you can kind of end the battle if you have a lone character. And you can actually even be sneaky, get into the battle, shoot your weapon, and then make him get lost. So this is a way of
forget that's how the battle rules work, where if your character's gone, it's not like your power is 0, it's just the battle ends there.
Right. Yep. So Han shot Boba Fett and then fell off the edge and battle's over.
Interesting. I would have never thought to use it that way, but that's good application.
Yeah, I think one of the easiest ways you can lose in the game is to lose a disastrous battle, and obviously you're trying to use it for retrieval, but this is kind of an emergency backup option. So that's my first combo. So my next one works for both light side and dark side, but I think you see it more with dark side, which is saach. And this is like a weird blackjack game that they implemented. And it's kind of strange to just stop playing Star Wars and start playing blackjack. The rules are rather complicated, but the idea is you want to try to get close to 11 without going over it. And then, as long as you have a character that satisfies the prerequisite, you're good to go, even if your opponent doesn't. And honestly, I don't know how the wild cards and clone and stakes work because I'm never going to be playing this fairly. So, to cheat at saach, consider using something like reactor terminal or traffic control for light side. This lets you put cards back in your use pile during your control phase. And then once you activate them and track them to the top, track a total of 11 over 2 cards, so like a 7 and a 4 or 6 and a 5. Initiate your saach and you win with a perfect saach, which basically means your opponent is going to lose the 2 cards they drew for saach. And then you don't really win anything, but you get it used. So that's kind of a way to do some sneaky direct damage. And there's a Brangus deck that uses that for damage output. But you can actually time when you initiate saach to really mess over your opponent. If they were tracking cards, well, you're forcing them to draw those 2 destiny for saach. And, maybe they needed them for something good. Or even in battle, maybe they've activated down to 1 or 2 cards. They have something really good on the top. And during battle, you do the saach and they have to draw. And now they have, not enough or maybe even no cards in their deck. So they're getting no weapon destiny, no battle destiny. You're winning your saach and you're messing up their battle plans.
I've never played around with saach before, so it's kind of interesting to hear it explained a little bit like that. So.
Right. And, why play when you can lose? Just only play when you're guaranteed to win. So that's my second combo. I've got a new one for us for Reflections 2 format. I'm pretty excited because they've chosen to ban the 2 Reflections 2 objectives, which the dark side one was good, but the light side one was so good that basically everybody only played that, or if they played something else, they acknowledged, they were playing a suboptimal deck. But you can still play the characters, and we get Pulsar Skate here, who has Mirax as a pilot, and that's pretty good. Mirax allows you to cycle through your deck, and they've got immunity. But for something that's slightly different here, Pulsar Skate actually has text, and one of them is may add ability of your unique smuggler to X on Kessel Run. So who's a good unique smuggler? Melos, right? So ability 4, smuggler, draws destiny. So maybe you want to send Melos on a Kessel Run here. So Kessel Run is you basically move to Kessel and back, and there's a small chance that you blow up, but otherwise you retrieve some force, and you get an extra 4 force if Melos is piloting Pulsar Skate, which, Pulsar Skate, Melos, Kessel, they're probably cards you want to be running in your deck anyway. And, with a combination of squadron assignments and maybe hidden base, you can pull out a lot of those cards. So a little bit of free retrieval here.
Yeah, Kessel Run's a fun little mini game to be running, because you can still be doing your whatever objective, and then have this as like a mini game running that you really need 7 or 8 cards for total.
Right. I've never actually lost a ship, but theoretically, if your opponent gets lucky and draws a 0, disaster. Got to add a little bit of risk there, but hopefully that won't happen.
Yeah.
And as a little bonus in here, for the first time, I saw Kashyyyk being added to hidden base. So the Dash and Mirax are smugglers. You need to pull a bunch of systems with hidden base, and these smugglers deploy cheaper to Kashyyyk. So you can get, the 2 good new ships and their pilots down to Kashyyyk with squadron assignments and hidden base very cheaply.
That's one thing I always forget about some like the old text on planets.
Right.
Fondor is a good spot to put out the executor, right? It's just like all these little things to remember and keep in mind.
So if you're doing the hidden base and smuggler route, consider adding Kashyyyk to your deck. So that's my third combo. My fourth one is Janice Shenanigans. So widely considered to be one of the best dark side characters. Adds drains to a site that the Emperor's at, but most importantly, you get to put cards into your use pile to draw off your deck. And it seems a little confusing why you would do that, right? Because you could just draw the card, right? Why are you spending a force when you could just be drawing the card? But it allows you to draw cards at times that are not your draw phase, like maybe your deploy phase. You don't have anything great in hand. You put a card back, maybe you draw something good. So I think most people are familiar with the way Janice works, but I think the way most people use it, if they're just getting started with him is, it's your deploy phase, you throw something back that's high destiny or you don't want, and then, maybe this card is good and maybe it's not. But actually, you can use it at any time. And one of my big level up moments in the game was realizing you can pause your activation. So when you activate Force for the turn, you don't have to activate it all at once. You can pause at any point and then take actions and resume. And actually, your opponent can as well. So if you're tracking a used interrupt like the powerful trample, you can trample, keep track of where it is in your use pile. And then when you're activating Force for the turn, pause, draw with Janice, knowing that that's on top, and then resume activation. So this allows you to rapidly reuse used interrupts with Janice by pausing your activation phase.
I just love Trample. I think it's the best, most thematic card in the game, right? It's just everything about it like hits. So I love using it. It's also pretty powerful, Destiny 4.
Yeah, and I did find out that it is ability, not defensive value. So if you zap somebody with Force Lightning, doesn't help out your Trample.
Okay, that's actually good to know. I always thought those were kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, well, some kind of nuance that sometimes surprises you. So that's my fourth combo. My last one is another oldie but goodie, Stunning Leader. Not to be confused with Set for Stun, which similar names, but they do very different things. So this is one of those old, like, brutal blowout cards. It seems like a lot of the first two sets had cards that were just either duds or like so incredibly brutal that, you know, they ended up getting nerfed once they introduced defensive shields. But this one says, in case you haven't seen it before, if a battle was just initiated in an interior site, you know, by you or your opponent, use a force. For remainder of battle, all characters with ability greater than 2, which are a lot of them, right, and leaders on both sides are simultaneously excluded from battle. So this, you know, changes the flow of the battle here, right? You know, your opponent thinks that they're getting into battle with their characters and your characters, and you can strategically exclude characters. So I think the most straightforward use of this is in something like a Scum and Villainy deck, where you're playing a bunch of aliens. Sometimes those aliens have low ability, like 2 or less, and you get into battle and you're excluding most of your opponent's characters, right? You know, Leia and Han and Luke and Obi-Wan, those are all ability of greater than 2. But they might have a random spy that has maybe ability 2 that's there, or some
Like a
pilot
Karen
or
Webb
something
or
like that.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. And now all their powerful characters are excluded, and they've just got, you know, one lone character there that's getting ready to be beaten down by your alien scrubs. Another trick would be if you have characters that are only ability 3, you can maybe completely end the battle, right? So it prevents an ambush. I mean, you're hanging out with Darth Vader or something, and your opponent plays a bunch of strong characters and ambushes you, you can just end the battle, right? Because you'll only have that one character. And we talked about with the off the edge and on the edge, you know, if you have only one character and it gets excluded, the battle's over.
I'm just thinking that the retro game I just played, I could have used that because I was running an ISB deck and I had a bunch of Outer Rim Scouts, so just getting crushed by Prophet. But I think it would have been great because all the Outer Rim Scouts are ability 2, right?
Right. So, you know, you can even maybe strategically initiate a battle, retrieving 2 with Scum and maybe even 1 with First Strike, and then just end the battle, right? So you initiated a battle, you retrieved 3 force, your opponent lost 1, and battle's over. So, you know, if you have the opportunity for another battle, you First Strike again, retrieve your Sunning Leader, you got a powerful retrieval engine going on.
Yeah, that's like a net of 3 force, basically, net positive.
Right.
You're getting 4 -1.
So that's my 5th combo, Stunning Leader shenanigans.
Okay, well, I think we got a good mixture. So we got 2, let's see here, 3 light side and 2 dark side.
Yep.
Is that the count here? Yeah, I'd love to hear folks' comments. I think that's all kind of the card combos today. But if folks have sort of different ways they play this, we'd love to hear it, or your own combos. But these are a lot of fun to kind of go over all the different possibilities. And, you know, this is a big game. I have to remind myself. So it's really good to go over these and think about it. Any kind of final thoughts here?
I think Star Wars is great for 2 reasons. The first is if there's something in Star Wars you like in the movies, you can make a deck around it. And the second is it really rewards continual play with the game, right? I mean, you might not have seen these combos when you first get started, but when you discover them, it's very satisfying. So we did take some of these combos from comments in the last video. And if you have more combos that we haven't hit yet, please share them, and maybe we'll try to do another video in the future.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.